Jaden McDaniels guards Luka Doncic better than anybody in the NBA. It's like I think it's almost like a proven stat.
Doncic with McDaniels there. Shot clock at 7. Luka will make a move. Lets it rip. Works by McDaniels, who's got to be careful. Spins, fades, fires.
Speed doesn't bother him, but length can definitely affect him.
Gobert is out there. Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! Got it! What a shot!
They have size at the rim, they got rim protection, they got good on-the-ball perimeter defense, and they have the #1 overall defense in the NBA.
14 for Luka on the logo. What is going on?
Game. Blouses.
When it comes to the 2020s era, we're seeing our past superstars, our past best players in the world, fall off every single season. And with that being the case, a lot of fans are asking, who is the next face of the NBA and the one player who will carry the torch into the 2030s?
Who will be the next face of the NBA?
Ant-Man.
He's the face of the NBA now.
It's just like when Jordan came up. Magic and Bird and Kareem and Moses, all those guys had to take a back seat. Ant-Man is here, and he's here to stay.
So, looking at the mainstream sports media, guys like Anthony Edwards, Wembanyama, they're kind of being dubbed and groomed as the next face of the league. And I think it's safe to say Luka Doncic doesn't get nearly as much hype as he should compared to someone like Anthony Edwards, which is kind of odd, because Luka from really his sophomore season on was a top 10 player at worst. And looking at Luka at age 22 back in 2022, his individual play success far superior to someone like Anthony Edwards at the exact same age, as Luka that season was first team All-NBA, 5th MVP voting, top 3 in points per game and assists, the playoff leader in points per game, and the second round beat a 64-win Suns team, which by many was dubbed the championship favorite.
Stunning. 27-point lead. Down goes Johnson. 3. Luka.
Now look, people back then gave Luka his praise, they gave him his flowers, but when it came to being anointed as the next face of the NBA, back in 2022 Luka wasn't getting that level of hype like Anthony Edwards. And that's why I call this year's West Finals the ultimate humbling moment for the mainstream sports media, as looking at Luka versus Anthony Edwards as a massive underdog in this series. 32 points per game, 10 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals on absurd shooting. Luka in this series reminded everyone why he's Luka Doncic, as out of both teams, 11 points, rebounds, assists, and steals. And while those numbers are impressive, the stats are gaudy. Where you saw Luka at his best was in the crunch time moments in the fourth quarter, compared to someone like Anthony Edwards, who most times folded, came up short in the biggest moments. Look at game 1 for example. Luka in the fourth quarter, 15 points, 5-8 shooting, made 2 threes, and played all 12 minutes. And the T-Wolves late in this game had a pretty sizable lead, but in large part due to Luka Doncic, the Mavericks came back and stole this game. And looking at 3 plays in particular, Minnesota up by 4 Luka hit a step-back 3 on Anthony Edwards. On the defensive end, had the block on Gobert on the lob attempt. And most importantly, the dagger mid-range shot over Jaden McDaniels. That game 1 for Luka, one of the most complete games of his career, as he dominated start to finish and came through in the biggest moments. And looking at game 2 of course, the shot over Gobert. Not just a series-defining shot, but a career-defining shot. And if Dallas does win the championship, taking a 2-0 lead on Minnesota, hitting the game winner in Rudy's mouth, it'll live on in Luka Doncic lore as the best plays in NBA history. And looking at game 3 back in Dallas, Luka in the fourth quarter was a perfect 3-3 shooting from the field in that quarter. And the biggest shot he hit all game, the impossible fadeaway McDaniels with the shot clock winding down. And I can't forget Kyrie Irving in the deep corner of the dagger shot to seal the game and essentially the series. And having those two guys on the same team, Kyrie and Luka, there's a lot of debates, the best backcourt, best scoring backcourt, and honestly, I don't really care about that. Because one thing I do know, this is the most clutch backcourt I've ever seen. As really no duo in NBA history has 2 guys late in games who relish big shot making, can pass the ball, create, and just hit all types of shots late in the fourth quarter. And one more thing I do want to talk about is the so-called killer instinct and just the mentality to go for the kill, strike the jugular, and end the series. A lot of fans brush this off, not a real thing, it's fake, it's overblown, you see that a lot. But Luka in Game 5, I thought showed once again the killer mentality and the killer instinct. As in Game 5 in the first quarter, really the entire first half, was playing like a rabid bear with a 32-ounce steak right in front of him. This dude was hitting step backs from half court, going into paint, throwing up flip shots, just getting whatever he wanted. He was possessed. And as a so-called neutral observer, when you watch a Game 5 in the playoffs, you want it to be close and competitive. This game, it was anything but. And watching it at halftime, it just gave me deja vu back to that Suns-Dallas series, Game 7 in Phoenix. I mean, it was nearly identical. As Luka back then in 2022, in the first half alone, 27 points, 3 assists, 9-12 shooting with 4 made threes. Luka in Game 5 versus Minnesota in the first half, 25 points, 3 assists, 10-16 shooting with 5 made threes. I mean, that right there is eerily similar. And once again shows Luka Doncic has that mentality, that attitude to end games early in the first quarter and even the first half. And the funny thing about Luka Doncic is, only being 25 years old, already numerous iconic games, series, and especially buzzer-beating shots versus great NBA teams. And the most impressive thing about Luka, in the biggest playoff games, the biggest moments, nearly always rises to the occasion and comes through. Look at closeout games. Luka Doncic, 31.9 points per game for his career, the 5th highest all time. Elimination games, 35.0 points per game, that ranks first. Game 7s, 40.5, also first. And just general points per game average in the playoffs, 31.1, which is second, only to Michael Jeffrey Jordan. If any other superstar player, young player, 25 and under, had those type of numbers and performances in big games, they'd be getting dubbed the next face of the NBA and the next player of the century or millennium. But unfortunately for Luka, a lot of fans and the media kind of reluctant to give him that title as the face of the league. And look, if Luka becomes that, I'm here for it, I'll embrace that. But I do find it very peculiar. Someone like Anthony Edwards has a good 2.5-3 week stretch, and all of a sudden this dude, the next MJ, he's branded, he's the face of the NBA and the league's future. But Luka Doncic, toss him to the side. And for Ant specifically, that back half of his playoff run, he was downright mediocre. And when speaking about Luka Doncic, Luka's mediocre series are still better than a lot of players at their best. I mean, look at this series versus the Clippers. 30 points, 9 boards, 10 assists on 41% shooting. That is a bad Luka Doncic series. Luka versus the Thunder. 25 points, 11 boards, 9 assists. 45% shooting, but still, a mediocre series for Luka Doncic. And you might ask the question, how did Dallas win both those series with Luka being kind of meh for his standards? Well, it all comes back to fourth quarter play and clutch time play. As Luka in both those series, the biggest games, biggest moments, came through time and time again. In the first round versus the Clippers, Luka's fourth quarter scoring, 6.8 points per game, 48% shooting, 46% from 3, with a plus-minus of plus 5.2. Look at the OKC series, the fourth quarters, games 5 and 6. 12 points, 5-11 shooting, 8 assists, 1 turnover, and was a plus 9 in both those fourth quarters. Look, I get it, clutch time play, fourth quarter play, it is kind of subjective, there's not really a definitive stat for it. But when you see Luka play the big shots he hits, this guy undoubtedly is one of the best clutch players in league history. And if you want to call it Luka's revenge tour, go ahead and say it. Because at every single turn, this team and Luka himself have proven everybody wrong. So that right there is the end of the video. And once again, Luka Doncic, a 1 of 1, and a certified Hall of Famer at only 25 years old. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.